Greetings, fellow humans. I'm a bit stuffy. Not really. It's Red Nose Day and I'm still celebrating. Although, this Tea with JD is brought to you by the dark side of the brew. Actually, I did receive a tea sampler from Adagio Teas, and I'm actually going to be reviewing them for a couple of reasons. I did a snarky comment about Tivana, and they chimed in, and I got a sampler, and at least it smells wonderful, so we'll see. Even though I'm a bit stuffy. Today's Red Nose Day, and in addition to this video, I am still doing the ebook giveaway. Basically, anyone who donates to Red Nose Day, if you take a screenshot or a receipt or something and you share it with me, you get a free ebook. Pretty much that. I think it's a good cause, and anything to make a kid smile, which is one of the main missions of the Daydreams. Now that I'm done with the Red Nose promo, let me talk normally. Okay, so the very fun Peter Clark. Actually, damn, it's still stuffy. Excuse me. I hope no snot flies. The very funny Peter Clark, who has a pretty cool YouTube channel. Check him out. He actually tagged me in a Writer's Life for Me tag, where they asked 10 questions, and here we go. Obviously, it's related to writing, but first, let me slurp. That's actually very nice. Cheers, Adagio. And I'm not getting paid for this. I paid for my tea. But we'll talk more about that later. First off the bat, what kind of a writer are you? As in, what genres do I write? Right now, actually, that's a further question. But I write essays, poetry, novels, short stories, blog posts. I enjoy reviews, and by trade I am a copywriter, so that means that I can write anything from a letter to a patient, which I have done, to a press release, to pretty much all sorts of communications. In essence, I enjoy writing, the act of writing. It's not that I enjoy writing this or that I enjoy writing, and I honestly do enjoy writing reviews. One of my greatest accomplishments is being in the top 15 TripAdvisors for a recommendation I did to a hotel called Casa Matrona in Sausalito. This is like, I'm just name dropping. But these videos are not edited. I am not slick. I am rough around the edges, but this is as real as it gets. But here's the thing, I wrote that review, and I actually got a note saying thank you because a lot of people had seen that review, and they had responded positively. My experience there was very positive, and when I have a really positive experience, I like to write a review, because by nature, I think statistically, if you have a bad experience, most people tell that bad experience to about 25, 28 people, upper 20s. And when you have a good experience, you tell that to like 6. So I'd rather, shift the tables. And if I have something really bad to say of a place and someone asks me about that place, I will tell them, but I won't go, with a picket. That said, I enjoy variety. And I like challenging myself in genres, in styles, and in different things. And, while always trying to maintain the essence of, of what I am. David Bowie is a really huge influence, and when he passed this year, it was a really hard blow. But he was very inspiring in the sense that if there's any musical chameleon, it was that guy. He was very genuine in many things, and he was just a next level. Here's the thing: disco, rock and roll, techno, metal, anything. He went for it. He did blues, he did jazz, whatever, everything. He tried to push himself in genres, but it always sounded like Bowie. Uh, in my modest attempt as a writer, I want what I write to be identifiable as if I wrote it, while still pushing myself to go in different places. That's part of what drives me. Second question: when did I start writing? Actually, I started writing. I was probably in grade school. I did short stories for class, which most people do, and it went from that to like love letters, and as a child, I did love poetry to my wonderful women in the third and fourth grade. Uh, it's not that I always had a knack for it, but I always had an interest in it. And then in my teen years were really rough. And I wrote a lot of poetry and a lot of song lyrics to make sense of it all. And it actually did help me a lot. I do always recommend people to write things through, because to me, it was very therapeutic, to the point that on numerous occasions in my life, it has been beneficial, to the point that uh, thank God that I had writing and I had that outlet. So, and then in college, I wrote. I wasn't writing that much, because I think I was writing so much for class. And then when I started my first job, I got invited to write in a blog, and I wrote in that blog for a long time. And then I got the crazy idea to write a novel. It took 7 years. I finished that novel, and pretty much I write more and more and more, and I like that. That makes me happy, and I think that's what it's all about. Whatever that we're passionate about, that it makes us happy. What inspires my stories? I think life in general inspires my stories, and things that I read and watch. Um, in the sense that it's not that one thing is to copy something, another thing is to see a documentary on Africa or India or China and say, oh, I want to do a fantasy thing that has an animal similar to what appears in that documentary. And just experiencing life. Tea inspires me, beer inspires me, cheese inspires me, life inspires me, waves inspire me. Just living inspires, and I just try to enjoy life as much as possible and smile as much as I can. um, what themes do I explore in my writing? um, I have a fascination with humanity and everything that is composed by humanity and the human nature. Uh, I like exploring common ground. Gender issues, equality is very important to me. Nature is important to me, and preservation is important to me. These are topics that I explore in different ways. If you check out most of what I write, you will see that humanity is always tinkling nearby, and it is defining humanity, exploring humanity is very important to me, and actually the human cycle, which is the series that I'm writing. Only Human and Shadow of a Human are two aspects in my exploration of humanity through fiction. Sounds really fancy, and I can go more in depth than I will, but in another video, because if not, this is gonna be like 50 minutes. So, nah. Another topic that I like to explore is actually addiction and the problems with addiction, and doing it in a different way. I don't go Breaking Bad about it, but I do think it's a topic that should be addressed, because it is an issue, and a lot of people with addiction, it's a challenge. Luckily, I've never been faced with addiction except to writing. I've actually, apart from smoking cigarettes, which I quit about 10 years ago or more, and alcohol, I don't use any other drugs except prescription stuff for like my nose and whatnot. I never have. It's not that I'm against them; it's that I'm just not interested. But I do know people who have gone through really, really, really rough patches, And for some reason, I feel the need to address that. So yeah, that's another topic. Um, Question number 5: Are you a pantser or a plotter or a little bit of both? Depends on the project. I don't have a set method in the sense that I try to vary it by from one project to the next. I don't like doing the same things twice. I like keeping it fresh, and I like challenging myself. Pouring myself some tea. By the way, if you want to see the color of the tea, there you go. One sci-fi novella that I'm actually working on is actually very structured, and I wrote down 40 to 50 bullet points with plot points, key plot points that I'm covering, and basically I'm writing over the plot points. I get to the plot point, I delete that, and I write the scene that is corresponding to that plot point, however long it is. With the human cycle, the first book and the second book were similar methods in certain things, and each one was different. Both had a ridiculous amount of research. Each one had over 200, Word documents that were over 200 pages. And basically, I printed all that out, and I just read and read and read, and I just crossed out everything I didn't need, so that I could tap to what really caught my attention. And when you have 15 pages of text, and you're reading, and something is going to jump out, and that is, instead of highlighting, I did cross out everything else, because if it got my attention, it's for a reason, or that was my mindset at the moment. This could actually change. For other projects, I actually do have index cards with descriptions of characters and some of the lines that I've thought of that I'm going to include in the dialogue, descriptions of scenes, and descriptions of generally what's happening, and basically I laid out all those index cards and start writing. But that's another project. Poetry, it's often very spur of the moment, and I like to capture, trying to capture lightning in a bottle. But I do have poems that are much more complicated. In my collection, Dark Strands, it's, from what I've published, that's the last poem in that collection, Miranda and the Broken Ghost, is actually the hardest poem I've written, which is 8 stanzas, 9 lines to a stanza, and the rhyme scheme is abacadabra. It wasn't exactly easy to write, because finding 40 words that rhyme is a challenge, but I was able to do it. And I like doing that. I like just challenging myself. And I did write down my writing schedule, but after the Puerto Rico Comic Con, I'm taking this week slow. I've already written a bunch of stuff, and I'm recording this video. So yeah, I'm taking it slow. But still, I am taking it slow, and I will reevaluate that and see what I have to adjust, because I have a lot of projects that I want to do, and the year is not even half over. People at the Comic Con were asking me, "Oh, so what are you bringing for next year?" And I'm like, this year's not over, so we'll keep pushing. So that's that. Question number 6: Where are you at in your journey? I queried 4 publishing houses. I don't even remember which ones. I never even got an answer. And at that moment, it's not that I had an epiphany. I had to make a decision. Either I was going to keep writing to different publishing houses and agents to see if anyone would bite and give me the time of day and see what would happen, or I could do it by myself. I chose the indie route. The indie route is not easy, although it depends to who you ask, because everyone's journey is different. My journey has been, a lot of effort, a lot of writing, and doing things on my terms, and it's been very, very gratifying and very pleasant because of that. I just released the sequel to Only Human. My first novel is Only Human. I just released Shadow of a Human, which is the second book in the human cycle. And I launched that at the Puerto Rico Comic Con, and it was really good, and the initial response has been very positive, so I'm a happy boy. I've released 4 poetry collections. One is actually in Spanish. my mom still loves me. My mom is Cuban, so, and she's been insisting that I write more in Spanish, and lo hice, mama. I did, mom. I have a young adult short story collection called The Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore, which are a lot more whimsical. And just the intention of each of those short stories is that you end up smiling at the end of each short story. I wanted something lighter, and I do like YA a lot, so I pushed myself to be as random as I could, and I really like that project for several reasons. And I also have a bilingual collection that I released called 2020, which is actually 20 pieces in English, 20 pieces in Spanish, and a bilingual poem in the middle. It's got essays, poems, and short stories, and again, initial response has been very positive, and I'm just happy that people are liking. I do maintain a blog, and the blog has pretty much everything, from writing tips to music reviews and book reviews and movie reviews, to thoughts on the current state of boxing, to thoughts on surfing, to thoughts of thoughts. I am actually working on a book adaptation, which is gonna have the same title as the book. It's called For Writing Out Loud, and that is one of the projects that I aim to finish before the year's over. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm actually doing collaborations with several people, and basically just writing until someone pays attention, and then that someone tells another person to pay attention and say, oh, give this guy a shot. That's basically where I'm at right now, and at least it's been increasing steadily for the last 3 years, and that's cool. It's a lot of work. The thing is that I love it, so it's not a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. The difference between saying that it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort is that one sounds like it's an investment, and it is an investment in trying to make a positive impact with my writing, trying to inspire other people to write, and to just go for it, because I have, and although not sustainable, because I still need side jobs and freelance work, it is where I want to go. So yeah, this video is eternal, by the way. Have I ever, as question number 7, have I ever entered any writing contest? I actually have. Online, I've entered a couple, and I still haven't placed anything, so I will use those pieces for another collection. In college, I did win first place in poetry in the second college that I went to, and the first college that I went to, I actually won 3rd place for a short story that's actually part of the inspiration for Only Human. I wrote it in a typewriter, and I had it in a diskette, and I lost that diskette. So that means, yeah, diskette. Look it up. A lot of people go like, what is that? Is that like a flash drive? It's like a flash drive, just a lot more pathetic. I lost that, so basically I'm going to be rewriting that short story with a fresh perspective. So we'll see how that goes. What else? Did I ever win anything else? I don't think I've won anything else. But I don't overly submit my work. Maybe I should. A lot of people recommend doing so. The thing is that entering a contest costs money, and there is so much you can do with the money that you have. And I did enter 3 contests. I didn't place in any. I will regroup. I will write more stuff, and I will submit again. People say, "Oh, why don't you submit the same piece?" And the thing is that I want to give tribute to the pieces that didn't win in a collection of you didn't place or something, or not winners, because they're not losers, but they weren't winners though. Question number 8: who are my writing heroes? There are actually several, and this is gonna be a weird answer, because I'm not just gonna talk about writing. Okay, writing heroes. Bill Hicks and George Carlin are huge influences in my writing and in the way that I see life. and they are definitely people whom I have the utmost respect for in the sense of writing. I think they are brilliant. Um, David Cross is also a stand-up comedian that I have a lot of respect for because being funny is not easy, and being consistently funny and smart is almost impossible. And these guys did it so often. Richard Pryor was also great, but that resonate with me. Bill Hicks is by far my favorite comedian, and I have the utmost respect for him. In music, Pearl Jam's my favorite band, so Eddie Vedder is definitely of an influence, as is Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, as is Maynard James Keenan from Tool, A Perfect Circle, and Pussifer. All of those people are huge influences, and they are writing heroes because they have my respect and my appreciation, and they've made a huge impact in my life. Now going to writing, first, the ones that have passed. Edgar Allan Poe is obviously a big writing hero. I don't necessarily condone the way he lived, going back to the topic of addiction and whatnot, but you can't deny talent, and he had an abundance of it. Tolkien is definitely someone I would have loved to have tea with. I think Tolkien was brilliant, and the level of detail of Middle Earth is just awe-inspiring, and that is pretty awesome. Douglas Adams is, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is one of the funniest reads I've ever seen. Ever. Specifically, the first two books are just gut-bustingly funny. And when he passed at such an early age, I'm pretty sure he was 50. Such a shocker, and it left a sour taste in probably most of the fans' mouths, because the last book in that series is actually a downer, because he was in a point in his life where he was kind of down, and he wanted to write something else, and he was in the process of writing something else when he passes away. Regardless of that, definitely someone I really, really look up to, because the level of wit of Douglas Adams, consistently, that series, if there's any question, the answer is 42. And recently, Terry Pratchett passed away last year, and I finally read Terry Pratchett last year because I'm an idiot. A lot of people had recommended Terry throughout the years. I didn't pay any attention. I finally ordered the book. He passes away, and I read the book, and I was gutted. And I've only read 3 books that he's been associated with. But the laugh out loud factor, the smart factor, he's the only person I've laughed more than Douglas Adams, which is saying something, reading a book. And when my mother was in surgery for cancer, she actually beat cancer. She's doing well. A lot of people, anyone who follows me, has seen that. But the update is, Mama Estrada is doing great. But I was reading 2 books during that day. I actually read The Adventures of Pixie Piper, which is by a fellow Puerto Rican author called Maricel Jimenez, who is just a sweetheart and brilliant, and it's such a nice and sweet book. And then I read Discworld, the first book, The Color of Magic, and I couldn't stop laughing. And when you're waiting because a loved one is in surgery, you're not supposed to be laughing, and I was laughing because I knew that everything was going to be okay, and because the book was that good. And that made a hell of an impact on me because it blew me away. And then I read Good Omens and his collaboration work with Neil Gaiman, and that was just next level. Which brings me to Neil Gaiman and J.K. Rowling. Still living, most of the people that I mentioned have passed away, but these 2 are living, and they are my writing heroes and people that it's not that I want to write something that will have the impact that their work has had. I just want to write something that if they by any chance read it, it resonates, and and they enjoy it just as a thank you. I say that often, and I mean that. I would love for Neil Gaiman to read some of my work and say, wow, this kid is good, and this got me thinking, and the same with JK. The thing is that, especially with Joanne, unlike other people, I read Harry Potter at a difficult time in my life, and in my 20s. That's when I discovered Harry Potter. How about it? Yay for late bloomers. And it just blew me away, and it was exactly what I needed to read at that point in my life. And it made such an impact, such a beautiful impact, and her work is just phenomenal. I still have to read her other work, but that series was just so good, and it means so much to me. So that's question number 8. We're gonna get to half an hour, people. I went baba. Have I ever been to a writing conference? I have been to a writing conference actually this year, to the Congreso Internacional de la Lengua Española, which is the International Congress for the Spanish language. It is the most important writing conference of the Spanish language in the world. And it was in Puerto Rico this year, and it was eye-opening in a lot of senses. I'm going to be talking more about Chile and my experience. But I went there, and I met a couple of authors, very pleasant people, and I will be writing more in Spanish. I know I've said that before, but I delivered. I already gave a Spanish poetry collection, and I already wrote, the bilingual collection, so that's coming. And I know this video is in English, but more videos in Spanish are coming too, promise. And finally, do I have any tips for newbies and future writers? I'm not going to say aspiring writers. I say future writers because people say aspiring, and that takes away from the word writer. You're a writer. You're going to be a future writer. First off, allow yourself to surprise yourself. A lot of people have a lot of self-doubt. I have self-doubt, but I push through it, and I ignore it long enough to capture a story, a poem, a song, or something. And more people should give themselves that shot, because for me, writing has been so therapeutic and has brought so many beautiful people to my life, that not recommending that to any and every person that I meet would be ignorant and stupid. So by all means, it's okay to doubt yourself, but don't let that hold you back. Second off, follow through. I know a lot of people with a lot of ideas. Oh man, I got an idea. Ideas are great, but ideas are seeds. You can eat a seed, but you can't do much else with it. And a seed is not a meal. But if you plant a seed and you nurture it, it can become a tree. And depending on the tree, you could actually feed a village. If you had a jackfruit tree, a huge jackfruit could actually feed 20 people one fruit from one seed. So follow through. A lot of people have a lot of unfinished projects. Pick one and finish it. Oh, but it's not going to be perfect. Who cares? Finish it. Trust me. You will finish it, and that's actually one of the walls that's holding you back. And once you follow through, a lot of things are going to happen. A lot of good things. A lot of learning too. It's not going to be a smooth ride. But that wall is one of the hardest walls ever. And finally, write for you. I like people who enjoy what I write, and I do try to write something to the level that other people are going to write. But at all times, I'm writing something that I want to write. That resonates with me. That comes from deep within. That is genuine. Some people say and have told me, "Oh, that's a good idea that you wrote a book with vampires." And I'm like, I didn't write a book with vampires to write a vampire book. First off, it's not a vampire book, it's a mashup. It's science fiction, fantasy, and it's a mashup, and it's a dense one. Second off, I'm not writing to make millions. I'm writing to really, really, really make the best story that I can. And that is more important than pretty much anything else that you will ever listen to. Because there will be days where no one will care about what you write. There could be the best poem, the best story, or whatever, and maybe no one, cares. So in the end, are you gonna let the reaction of other people take you down? Or are you gonna write something from your heart that means something to you, that even if you leave it not nailed, buried in the sand with biodegradable ink and paper, please, that it shook you and moved you and meant something to you? That's the difference. Internal validation is one of the most important things that you will ever need, and it will see you through so many things. So write for you. It's cool that other people enjoy. It's cool that you want to please other people. I want to please other people. I want people to read what I write and to take something away from it. But in the end, everything that I write is a piece of me. If someone doesn't like it, man, I'm not a $20 bill. Not everyone's gonna like me. But in the end, I like what I put on paper, and that's why I share it. So that's the writer's life for me. This is a half-hour video, so pardon me for that. Thank you to Peter for tagging me, and I'm gonna tag Maricel Jimenez. And I don't know anyone else that he didn't mention that has a YouTube channel, so I'll have to browse. But for now, peace, love, and maki rolls.